Welcome back in. This month is Alcohol Awareness Month. This afternoon we have Dr. Lisa Graves Austin with the Toledo Clinic with us to help us understand alcohol abuse and how it can lead to serious issues over time. Good to see you, Lisa. Most everyone likes a adult beverage now and then, but when do we know it's too much, it's going to affect your health, not a good thing? Right.
I mean, in general, heavy drink is defined in a woman as 4 or more drinks per day or 8 or more in a week. And in men, 5 or more drinks in a week. However, we must use caution when looking at that because all men are not the same size and all women are not the same size. And also they may take certain medications that may affect their liver or have other pre-existing diseases. So that's just a general rule. But we need to understand that just in the United States, more than 140,000 people die in the U.S. alone of excessive alcohol use. Now that's not counting cancers, okay? In general, in the world, 3.5% of all cancers in the world have a direct link to alcohol, so it's a major problem.
What kind of cancer typically crops up if you're excessively drinking?
There are actually multiple cancers. Obviously, the most common one is liver, okay? But then there's also throat, esophageal, stomach or gastric cancer. Pancreatic cancer is a common one. A lot of people don't remember that colon cancer and breast cancer also have a link to alcohol use.
Do we know, is there a link as to why that happens? What is it about alcohol and its composite creates those issues with your organs?
Well, we think in general, as with many of diseases that occur in the human body, it's a matter of inflammation and inflammation over time. With the liver, for example, it leads to scarring, which is called cirrhosis, which can lead to liver failure. But that scarring can also lead to inflammation and increase your risk for cancer.
Cirrhosis. Once you have it, you can never get rid of it, or can it modify and not be so bad? If you give up alcohol or modify, can the liver heal itself over time?
Yeah, the liver has a wonderful capacity to heal itself. Typically, the progression of liver disease starts with what's called fatty liver, which is where the alcohol causes inflammation within the liver, and it causes fatty deposits over time if you do not stop. It then progresses to something called cirrhosis and scarring. And once the scarring is there, the scarring doesn't go away. But you can regenerate the cells that are healthy, that are still in what we call the fatty stage. That's why it's so important to stop once you're aware there's damage.
How is that detected with the fatty liver?
Fatty liver, sometimes it can be found on labs. That's why it's so important to see your primary care doctor because it can be picked up on routine labs. I've seen many people come in for a routine physical. For example, the typical gentleman who's the weekend warrior who mows his grass on the weekend and he has, you know, a bunch of cold beers on a hot summer day, and he comes in for his routine physical and his liver enzymes are high. And he's like, well, I only drink on the weekend. And then you do the sonogram and there's fatty liver.
Really?
And absolutely. But in most cases, if that person changes their diet, they get rid of the alcohol, that fatty liver can improve.
I would think that beer drinking versus drinking whiskey out of the bottle, straight, it's probably apples and oranges. It's alcohol in it, but beer doesn't have the high alcohol that it does.
To some extent, that's true, but persistent excessive intake will have the same end result. And then again, you also have to worry about the carbohydrates in beer, which leads to another problem that can occur in excessive alcohol use, which increases your risk for diabetes. And alcohol risk, excessive alcohol has multiple problems that can occur. Can cause fluctuations in your blood pressure, and we know what happens there, increased risk for stroke and heart attacks. Diabetes is an issue. Gastric ulcers, issues with your esophagus. So there's really multiple things, and this only addresses the physical problems that occur. We have to address the whole mental issues that can occur from excessive alcohol use. Depression and anxiety can occur quite frequently along with alcoholism, and sometimes it's a person drinking because they're anxious or depressed, or sometimes the alcohol itself causes the anxiety and depression just from all the tremendous stress it causes in your job, in your work, in your personal relationships.
Yeah, coming out of COVID, I think a lot of us are, that really set all of our society back as far as mental health, everything like that. If you know someone that you suspect may be over consuming alcohol, what should they do?
You know, the biggest part is talking about it. If you know somebody who's struggling, talk to them about it. Don't be judgmental. There's help for a personal person who's in that situation. Realizing you have a problem and asking for help. Those are the first 2 steps in recovery. There is help for recovering from alcohol addiction. I would caution people who are excessively drinking every day and have a real addiction, talk to your doctor. Alcohol withdrawal can be life-threatening, and you definitely want to do it with the care of your professional.
We want to point out the phone number to call Toledo Clinic, 419-725-6427, or also you can get more information at toledoclinic.com. Lisa, thank you so much for giving us your insight on that. We'll be right